Well, that was amazing to hang out with my big sister and my big brother. And it gave us insight about what dating was like way back when and what it looked like to date and marry. And I say back then because it was 58 years ago. Next, I have for you a couple that's kind of bringing all of that to what's happening in this current situation. So, who better to ask about current dating standards than two of my fabulous friends, Mr. Ken and Ms. Charlene Gaither? Ladies and gentlemen, today I have the privilege of introducing this fabulous couple to you whose love story blossomed in this digital age. Ken and Charlene first connected through an online dating program. Probably some of you are familiar with what that might have been, but quickly discovered a deep connection that transcended the virtual world. So, from their first online conversation to them approaching their 5 year anniversary, their journey has been a testament to modern romance leading to timeless love. So, without further ado, welcome Ken and Charlene Gaither. And the crowd goes wild. How are y'all doing this afternoon?
Doing well, thank
Good,
you.
good. Thank you.
Fabulous. And I thank you guys so much for taking the time to hang out with me today. I just have a few questions. As I mentioned before, we're talking about love and how fabulous it is. And so I'd like for you to talk about, since we're talking about online dating, for those who don't know, that typically starts with a photo or a little tidbit here or there about the other person. So which photo or aspect of each other's profile intrigued you most? And whichever, Charlene, you can go first, or Ken, you can go first, whichever y'all decide.
After you, baby.
Okay. So the thing that intrigued me the most was the details in his profile. So we met on an app called Zeus. I don't even know if it's still popular now, but or people still use it. But you can fill out the profile, and there were certain sections. And he filled his out in very good detail. And that was the main thing that stood out to me, that he took the time to complete his profile.
Awesome. Awesome. What about you, Ken?
Um, it was kind of overwhelming at first going on the site. There's a lot out there, but what got me was her smile. Uh, Looking at her pictures and just her smile. That tells me a lot about a person. So when I saw her smile, I thought she had a beautiful smile, and then the things that she said align with the things that mean the most to me in my life. So
Awesome.
that's what did it.
I think that speaks to the fact that they say that good women are cerebral and men are visual. So you just kind of shown some of that. Just some of
Yes.
that. But there has to be something behind that, Ken. I don't want to say belittle what you're saying. I get that, but I just think you kind of proved a little bit of a point there, a little bit.
Well,
So
that's
who
true.
gave the
Yeah.
first message and what was said?
I believe it was me. I said, uh, hello. I hope you had a great day. You have a beautiful smile.
So he
That's
spoke to
pretty
what he
much it.
saw.
You're
Yeah.
right.
How about
I
you?
left it like that. So
I can't even remember. So it's great that he could remember that, but he would, I would continue to engage with him because of the way that he sent a message. Had he sent a message like the letter R and you and a question mark, like how are you doing?
Okay.
We wouldn't have talked.
So that text chat would have not been the way to go with you.
That would not, no, that would have been someone that I know that I may have chatted with them a little bit online, but we would not have gone to the level of speaking on the phone.
I'm glad I didn't because I almost started out like that.
Oh,
No,
you
I'm just kidding.
did.
Well, I'm gonna ask you something that I didn't even think about this until just now, but it makes sense to ask concerning how did you even decide you were going to look online in the first place? What made you decide to use that as an avenue as opposed to old school in person?
Well, to your point, you made a comment about how dating was going, and that was the way. And so I figured I try it. But that was really the second app that I tried. And I remember the first time I went on I can't even remember the first app that I tried. A young person told me about it. So I figured I'd go on there. But, it was overwhelming, to Ken's point, because as soon as I started it up, I started getting messages and likes, and I didn't know what to do with that. I remember calling my girlfriend and saying, "Oh, somebody, what am I supposed to do?" And so I just figured I'd give it a try.
Was there anything?
Yeah. For me, I had a lot going on. I was coaching, just doing a lot of things, and I was thinking about how could I meet somebody. But then I was like, you know what? I'm Kenny Gaither. I don't need to go online. That's how I thought. But then I thought about my nephew, and my nephew met his wife online. His friends actually hooked him up. So I said, you know what? Let me at least try it. And I think it was kind of meant to be because when I went online, it was about 2 weeks, and I was like, it's too much. I mean, it was coming so fast and hard, and everybody wanted to talk. And I think the last day we met, it was about 2 weeks. And I said, do you mind if I text you or call you? Because I can't stay on this side. It's too much. And she was like, fine. And that was it. That
That's
was it. We got off. Yeah.
so. How long did you guys communicate online before you decided to meet in person?
About 2 weeks. We went back and forth. It was about 2 to 3 weeks, somewhere in that that frame.
I told her, I said, a little fancy. I thought it was going to be, I was like, I'd be able to talk to a few people for a couple of months, just, and it was like, okay, so when we going to meet? I was like, huh? I was like, you want to meet already? She was like, yeah. So I was like, okay. So we talked about it. One of the things that I put in my profile was like, my handle was old school. I'm an old school guy. I like walking in the park, holding hands, writing poetry, and that type of thing. And she had said, and I told her I thought that I don't know if there's any more women out there like that. And she was like, yes, there is. And that made me feel better. And from that point on, once we got off the phone, we did talk for a couple of weeks, and then we end up meeting.
So, and obviously, and the rest was history, so to speak. But what was
Yeah.
one of the most memorable moments from that initial meeting?
For me, because and the reason why I think I was ready to meet him, because I wanted to see, was he really old school? Like, was he going to come to my house and pick me up? And so that was my test. And so what I remember most about our first date is that I reached for his hand as we were walking, because he was going to park, and when he was going to let me out up front, and then, then he was going to park. And I was like, no, I want to walk with you. Right. And so I just immediately felt that connection and reached for his hand, and we held hands.
Aw.
And so I think that shocked him, but I just felt comfortable enough to do that.
I'd have to say it's the same for me. Before that, we talked so much, and Charlene has been the first person that I ever talked to that we could talk about anything. Sometimes you have to ask somebody, well, what's the weather like? You're always trying to find something. It has never been like that. And even when we met, we don't need the TV, we don't need the radio. We could talk and laugh and truly, truly be ourselves. So, yeah, when we started walking, I opened the door, closed the door, we started walking, and she reached for my hand. She grabbed my hand. And I was like, okay, all right. So,
Awesome. Y'all have brought something to me that, and Charlene always does this because sidebar, y'all, she's also a personal coach. I ain't paying her though, but that's a whole nother story. But and I'm glad you said this, Charlene, because what I hear too is there was a sense of trust because I never wanted anyone to come to my house.
And that's what he said. He was afraid um that we were kind of going too soon, but I have met other people online that I didn't do that with, right? I only met one other person in person, and we met at like a mall somewhere public. But it was something about him that I felt like I could have him come to my house and pick me up because that's what I really desired. And he seemed to be the person that embodied that. So, but yeah, and that made him nervous.
yeah, because I told her, I said, you have to be careful who you are, you know, inviting to your home.
Mhm.
Um, I'm just saying, I know I have girls and I feel the same way. So she was like, I know, I've never done this before, but I know she wanted that old school romance too. And I'm bring the flowers type and all that kind of stuff. So,
You say you know
um,
what you're doing, Ken?
yeah, yeah, a little bit, a little bit. So,
That is right.
um, that all worked out well. Yes.
Yeah, it did, and I'm excited because that's something. I hear what you're saying. I hear the father in your voice, and it is something not only for women but for men these days. Dating online can be very challenging, and you do have to be careful. But I also know, and I know we didn't talk about it, but I also know that your foundation is on Christ. And so I know that
Yes,
you pray a
definitely.
lot, Charlene. I'm sure you do too, Ken. But what I'm saying all of that to say is when you trust God, then He gives you a level of intuition that you can also trust because you're trusting Him. But
Yeah.
we do have to be really careful with that. I appreciate that. That's some good information right there. What? Can't say he. So when you actually started your conversations, whether online or in person, um, are there any things that you talked about that you can share with us that you thought were really fond memories, things that you'll think sometimes be like, "Wow, I can't believe he said that," or "She really said that," or whatever. Anything that you'd like to share?
Well, I can say, after a few months we were dating, had a situation at work, and it had gotten really bad, and it seemed like they were trying to railroad me into something, and she had said to me, I came over and she cooked dinner, not breakfast, no, no, she didn't cook breakfast. I came over and I was talking to her about the situation, and she was like, she's like, "Don't worry about it, I got you." And I'm like, "Huh?" She's like, "I got you. It's gonna be all right. I know what you're dealing with and what you got to do. I got you. Just don't worry about that. It's gonna be good." And um, right, I got a call from my job, and people very high up, and talked to them briefly. And I was like, okay. And they just told me to just wait for their call. And by the time we got ready to walk out to go eat breakfast, I got a call back and said, "You're good. Don't worry about none of that. Everything's been taken care of." And a lot of that, I think, I, she is very religious, and I am too. But I also feel like I'm blessed because of her blessings. Also, that's something that I feel. I mean, you know, it is what it is.
I think what you just described, though, Ken, is the importance of that as a foundation. Because even as you marry, the vows, I've been, look, never been married, but been in enough wedding. I know almost the vows by heart, the basic stuff. But the part that says what God has put together, right?
Mhm.
Let no man put asunder. And what I remember also in one of the weddings that I was in, that it's a three-cord strand. It's the two of you with God as the third strand of that cord that makes it an unbreakable cord. And when I listen to you, when I listen to my sister and my brother, to me, that is the thing that is of urgent importance. And I think that you guys demonstrate that as well. When you think about the experience that you've had, and how did you know Ken? I mean, how did you know that this was the one that was going to be Mrs. Gaither? How did you know?
I remember telling her that at the Anthony Hamilton concert. I said, "I'm gonna marry you," um,
Yeah.
because the conversations were just it flowed like nothing ever before in my life, and it's unconditional. We hadn't been together that long, but I knew that the love that she was giving me was unconditional. I was a lot heavier then, and I was very self-conscious about it. But none of those things mattered to her, and definitely not to me. And we talked about it. We both had been married before, and we put it all on the table. And we had the same. Everything was the same. We even we like the same things. I mean, there's very few things that we do not like together. So yeah, I knew. I knew from the day we went out. I knew.
They say that. They say
Yeah.
that men know right away. Charlene, how about you? What were your thoughts along that line?
I one of the things that I think about our relationship when I look back at the photos, it did go pretty fast. And some people question that. But like he said, we had been married before, and I had prayed and was very clear on the things that I was looking for. And, but God had a different plan because on my vision board, I said I'll be married by 2024, right? And I look back at the picture probably about a month after I met him. But things move so fast because just like holding his hand intuitively on our first date, everything just felt like we had been together already for a long time.
It feels like that now.
And there was no reason to try to put any time frames on that because we had both been married. We knew what we didn't want. And now we were in a position where we had what we wanted. So what was the need to hold back? And that was kind of my mindset. And I went to that even when people asked those questions, or even I thought it myself. I was just having fun and just enjoying life. And I wanted it to stay that way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
What I heard you say just now is you had added to the best of your life for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And why would you delay that? That's what I heard you say.
I like it.
No, that's right. Well, as a person who is currently dating online, and I've done it for a long time, obviously needing some more coaching, what would the two of you say to someone like me or someone, anyone who might be dating online, looking intently? And I think I should say that because Charlene, you said something to me a long time ago. I say a long time ago. I've known her for 40 years. We haven't really known each other. Ken, for me, I hooked up with her as a friend too right away. She's that kind of lady, for real.
Yeah.
She's extremely smart about what she's doing. And the one thing that you said to me was, "Are you playing? Or is this something that you're seriously looking at?" And
we had that conversation. Yes.
I hate people that be walking down my street and I didn't tell them to come down my street though. You know what I mean? She just walked right down that street and just told me, and I had to take a look at myself. Because it does make a difference, I believe. So with intentionality, those who are dating online, if you are seriously looking for that person that is your person, what advice would you give those individuals?
May I start?
Sure.
The first thing for sure is to be clear about what it is you're looking for. And be very succinct about it. Like, don't have no 40 item list, right? 'Cause sometimes people can go all out and go overboard. Like really hone in to what it is that makes you happy, right? And focus on those things and the qualities that that person brings, right? Because uh, body size, money, none of those things really truly make you happy. So you got to get past all of that superficial stuff and think about what are those characteristics that the person has to bring to marry with my character to make a very nice union. And then once you're clear on that, don't play. Be intentional. If you don't want somebody that smokes, don't entertain somebody that smokes. Like you're just wasting time. Um, you know, so swipe left. So be clear and be methodical in that fashion. And when that person comes, pray and lean in.
What she said. No, she's correct with all that. And I think for me, you know, listening is very, very important, especially when you're talking to a woman. Uh, Meeting and listening to a person's heart. You got to go beyond all that other stuff. Sometimes they're talking, they're saying things, but there's words in there that can give you signs of saying, hey, you know what, this person is saying that, but that's not for me. But just like Shawnee said, being honest, upfront, knowing what you want. I know when I first did, I had all this stuff. I was like, I'm not gonna date no woman that do all this. And I'm saying, look at you, brother. You a little bit overweight, and how you gonna put standards on? But I had to look at myself, and I never took that to the site, but I was like, that's not what's important. So, if we can engage and take it a little bit, get a little deep and see what's going on, and just being honest and open about what you want, and then just laying it on the table, and no games. I had no time for no games. I don't, like I told her, I didn't come on here to try to hook up with a bunch of women or anything like that. I came on here to find me a lady that I want in my life, and get the opportunity to get to know this person and see what happens from there. And we sat down and had that talk. I asked her, I said, are we dating? What we doing? Because, sometimes, she was like, I was like, okay, let me know what you want. Because and I'll tell you a funny story. She told me, well, she said, there's a whole lot of them out here that want me. I was like, I said, hey, I said,
I know she
I
did.
said, I said, I hear you. Don't get it twisted. I said, there's a lot of them out here that want me too.
You better speak.
So what you going to do? What you want to do?
Right.
Is it worth it to you or what you going to do? Because I need to know if we dating and I can go do me and you can do you or what we're going to do. And if she said we was just hanging out, I probably wouldn't have went on because that's not what I was looking for. But that made her had to look at things and say, hey, let me put my head all the way on because look at what you would have lost, baby.
I had to turn in my player card. I'm like, hey, God, you acted fast.
I told you she was smart. You see how she knew she didn't turn that player card in?
I had to turn that thing in. I'm like, he's serious. Okay.
That's a cool thing. You both said some things that I think are critically important to me as an online dater. And the one thing that I have to admit that I have struggled with myself is knowing what you want. Like almost everybody asks that question, but it almost sounds so flippant if I've not centered myself by myself with God and really did a really deep dive in what is it that I really want. Because if you don't know, then you're going to get that.
Right.
You're going to get what you don't know.
Yeah.
And you guys have said it. My sister and my brother said it as well. And that's the importance of recognizing who you are with,
Right.
allowing them to be themselves and you be yourself because you can't change anybody.
Don't try that.
Yeah, because for what, right?
No
You
work.
said this is what you want. Why would you then change what you said? What you
Right.
want?
Right.
I'll share this with you guys too because you really remind me of them, and forgive me that I can't quote the name, but it's the young woman who founded with her husband, Uncle Nearest, the spirits company, the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
bourbon. And
Yeah.
I watched her on, there's another podcast. Shout out to my future wife. Dear Future Wife is the name of the podcast. But
Oh, wow.
oh, it's a beautiful show, for sure. But I saw them, and she didn't want to marry nobody. She really reminds me a lot of you, Charlene, in that she's a little rebellious. Remember we talked about you being a little rebellious.
Yes.
She was so she got you beat by far, but she was so rebellious that she was talking about how she walked out of her house because they could not help her understand the rules. That it had to make sense to her, and if it didn't make sense and it didn't give her a peace, she wasn't with it. And so she
Mm.
left home. I think when she was 16 or 17. But the piece that I found that was interesting is the guy that she has now been married to for 20 years. She met through her hairstylist,
Oh, wow.
and it was her hairstylist's son who, like, you know how if I would tell you, hey, Charlene, my girlfriend goes, I go to this lady, she does my hair, she does a great job, so you follow. So her girlfriend had told her to go to this lady. And when the lady met her and she talked about her goals and she was so focused and she talked about all the things that she was doing, because she was in the entertainment business at that point anyway, but she was just very focused. This is the part that blew my mind. The stylist told her, I want you to meet my son. And she was like, I am not trying to beat your son. And she said every time she went to get her hair done, the lady told her, I want you to meet my son. Hey, make sure I get her number. Write your number down. Like, the lady was persistent, right? And so she went back to her girlfriend. She was like, what is with this lady trying to hook me up with her son? And her girlfriend told her, well, girl, it must be something because ain't nobody never been good enough for her son. Like,
Oh, wow.
that this, he couldn't date anybody. So for
Mm.
his mother then to say, I want you to meet my son, I'll tell you what, I'll find it's another amazing love story, but it's not traditional. It had
Right.
nothing about it that was what I was taught you were supposed to do. And I say that because I think I'm a little bit older than both of you. But it was none of those things that we were taught you were supposed to do to be married. And I think it's imperative that everyone, as a person who's never been married, even, I live vicariously through my fabulous friends who have fabulous spouses and fabulous marriages. And the one thing that I see that is consistent is you have to know who you are, you have to know what you want, you have to give and take, you have to compromise sometimes. But more than anything else, you have to decide between you and your spouse what works for you. Because the way the two of you come together has nothing to do with nothing and nobody else. Because at the end of the day, the two of you will make the decisions about what you will do with each other.
Yes, ma'am.
If you didn't say anything else, you have given me a lot more to think about as I consider what I'm going to do. Being a sexy 60-year-old online, what can I say? I'm just saying.
Okay.
But what I do know is what God has put together, no man shall put asunder. And I'm so excited that the two of you found each other. And I appreciate both of you for sharing your story with me and for any of our listeners. Any
Yeah.
parting words before we end this part of the show?
What's on your mind,
Yeah.
Mr. Gaither?
No, just thank you for having us and giving us this opportunity to share our story.
It's
Like
empowering.
I
Yeah.
tell everybody, marriage is beautiful. Marriage has got a bad rap, so it's beautiful. You get the right person, you good.
If you
Yeah.
You
get the
good.
right person,
You want to go
that's what
home.
we're hoping.
Right.
You
And it doesn't take a long time. When
no.
you know, but you have to do that work up front so that you can recognize. I think a lot of people are missing out on the person that could be for them because they don't recognize them. and not focused and tuned in. And so when it happens, it happens. And it doesn't take 4 years to be engaged to a person to know, or to be dating someone before you know if this is your person. It doesn't take that.
That was the other thing that I was bringing her up for, because she was saying she wasn't dating anybody because it was a waste of her time. I'm not trying to hang out with you. I got stuff to do. And she was busy. So time is critically valuable. And I think to that point, you do need to ask yourself, is what you're doing worth the amount of time that you're investing in it? Because if it's
Mm-hmm.
not, then what are you not doing that you should be doing? You two are beautiful. I thank God for you for sure. I wish you the best of happy Valentine's Days tomorrow. And thanks so much for hanging out with me today.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, we have had a fabulous time today, huh? We went from 58 years of marriage to coming up on 5 years of marriage, and some great old school and new school ideas on dating and marriage. I hope that you were paying attention to the details of each different scenario. And if you're choosing to date online, certainly be careful, be wise about your selections. Um, I know for myself, I have dated online for a lot of years. And to be just as transparent as I can be, initially, it was just for fun, just to have conversation with guys. I enjoy having conversation with guys because it helps me understand how their minds work. And I also like sports a lot. And when I started dating online, there weren't a lot of my girlfriends that enjoyed football, basketball, baseball, golf, track and field, I should say. I'm a sports fan. And so there weren't a lot of my friends who enjoyed it like I did. And so dating online gave me an opportunity to have conversations with guys and meet new men that I didn't know and learn more about whether it was places I'd not been or, cultures I'd not experienced. And so I did go into that. And one of the things that Charlene even told me was that, what are you doing? Are you just dating to have fun, or are you seriously looking for your person? And that's a tough question. That's a tough question. Also, what do you want? Be honest with yourself. What do you really want? What will make you happy in a marriage, if that's what you want? Because I personally, even though I'm not married, I just don't think it's anyone's responsibility to make somebody else happy. I think that you have to have your own joy. You have to be your own person, because that's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of work for someone else to be responsible for making you happy. But if you're already what you want to be, and you meet someone who's already what they want to be, and his or her wants complement your wants, well, then that's a different type of approach. So as of right now, I'm still looking for that person that can complement who I am. That doesn't mean that I have to change who I am, and I can't change who they are. I mentioned it earlier. A lot of what we're talking about today is also because I did watch um, Dear Future Wife. It's a beautiful podcast. I'm not getting paid anything, of course, to recommend it, but if you're looking for your future mate, there are some couples that are being interviewed on that show that really offer some insight. And don't waste your time. Date online with intentionality. What is it that you're really looking to find? Who is it that you're really looking to find? And what does that look like? So that you'll recognize it when you see it. Because if you don't know what it looks like, you're going to see a lot of stuff. You're going to run into a lot of things. And again, As much as you do it all as unto the Lord. God will lead you. He will show you. He will guide you. And that's where I feel that I am. I have no regrets. Everyone that I've met has not been bad people. They just weren't my person. And I wish them all well. And I'm still looking for my person. But as we approach this Valentine's Day, I sure hope that you remember to surround yourself with love, even if that means buying yourself a rose, even if that means buying someone else a rose just to make yourself happy to give. Do that. But make sure that as we approach this day of love, that you find your way to surround yourself with love, whether it's with your girlfriends, with your guy friends, with your family. The day is a day of love, with the love of God. However, focus on that and make sure that you have an amazing day on Valentine's Day. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I look forward to hanging out with you whenever you want to now here on the Black Gold Texas Tea Show. I'm looking for ways to encourage, inspire, and motivate, and to ensure that when you think of yourself, you remember that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You were made on purpose with purpose. And to God be the glory for what he has made in you. Let the rest of your life be the best of your life. Until next time, do you.